In this lesson, we're going to discuss how cash flows from financial markets to the firm, and then from the firm back to financial markets. So we start with a firm, and possibly it's a startup firm, and so in order to get going, they're going to need some funding. So they go over to the financial markets, and the financial markets could be private, could be public, and the two main ways of raising money for a firm from the financial markets are by issuing stocks or issuing bonds. The firm can sell ownership, and then they would issue stocks, or they can take out debt, and then they would issue bonds. Those stocks and bonds are financial securities. So the firm issues these financial securities to the investors in the financial markets in return for cash. So now the firm has this huge inflow of cash. That's the only reason that they issued these financial securities, these stocks and bonds. It's only because they needed money. So now they have this money, and what do they do with it? Well, now they can invest in current assets and long-term assets. So in terms of current assets, the firm will need cash on hand to conduct business. They'll need some inventory. And then if they want to allow their customers some time to pay, they'll also have to set aside some cash for accounts receivable. They'll also need to invest in long-term assets. So that's going to be the plant, property, and equipment that the firm needs in order to generate its products and services. Once the firm gets going and is operating, they're going to produce cash flow from those assets. So we call that cash flow from assets or free cash flow. They make their payments to the government, so their taxes and any other stakeholders they need to pay, any other regulators. Then they make their debt payments on any bonds they have outstanding or any loans they have outstanding. And then they can decide to make dividend payments to the stockholders. Anything that gets left over is reinvested back into the firm. The firm continues to operate, then they make more cash flow from assets, they pay their taxes, they make their debt payments, potentially make some dividend payments, and then whatever's left over gets reinvested. And then that continues again. The firm continues to operate. So this cycle continues over and over and over again. At some point in its life, the firm may have an opportunity that it doesn't have enough cash flow for. So it may come to a point where it needs to raise a very large amount of cash to take advantage of this opportunity. In that case, it can go back to the financial markets and issue more stocks and bonds. So it will issue more financial securities in return for a large amount of cash to invest in more current assets and long-term assets to take on this new opportunity. It will generate more cash flow from assets, pay its taxes and so on, make debt payments to the bondholders, potentially dividend payments to stockholders, and then reinvest the money. So this larger cycle can happen more than once. Whenever the firm comes to an opportunity where it needs a very large amount of cash that it doesn't have, so it will need to raise it from the financial markets. And then the smaller cycle continues again. The firm continues to operate, more cash flow from assets, pays the government and other stakeholders, makes debt payments, possibly some dividend payments, reinvests the rest, continues to operate, more cash flow from assets, and so on. So in most years, the firm will be operating in this smaller cycle, but every now and then, where they have an opportunity where they need to raise a large amount of cash, they will be in this larger cycle where they go back to the financial markets and issue more financial securities for cash. So this is how cash flows from financial markets to firms, and then back from firms to those financial markets, to those investors, those stockholders and bondholders.